What up, you Lab Rats? This is episode number 95, and I'm here with Jared Easley from Starve the Doubts and Podcast Movement.
Hi.
Special guest. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the lab. My name is Megan.
And I'm Jared.
Yep, and we're here at New Media Expo. Jared, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a friggin' pleasure, honor. I'm so grateful to just have you in my circle. And
I love our little background here.
Yeah, we're in front of WordPress, a sponsor of Podcast San Diego.
I'm a big fan of WordPress. I use WordPress. Do you use WordPress?
We use WordPress. I'm a big fan of WordPress.
We love them.
Anyway, this is a very special episode on Get in the Lab. One, because you're here.
Yes.
Thank you. Two, because we're at New Media Expo. And three, we're here to talk about events.
Yes.
And events are a crazy, special, activating thing. we almost had a bystander.
Somebody
a pink
was
elephant.
walk in front of our line of video.
Yeah. No worries. That's what happens at live events. But I want to talk about live events and how activating they are, how special they are, and then kind of get into Podcast Movement, which was happening later on this year.
Yes.
So for you, what is it about events that makes it so special?
I like that one-on-one interaction. It's great online and Facebook and Twitter. Those are awesome things, and I'm never going to stop doing those things. But when you can come and you can hang out with people you've been interacting and engaging with, hopefully you've been doing that.
Yeah.
It's just a unique power of proximity. I hear Tony Robbins talk about that. It's so true. It's like you spend some time with somebody who especially is doing something that's like what you're doing. There's a connection there. Then,
It's all right.
All right, I'm going to clothesline the next person.
Clothesline.
So you can meet people in person and clothesline them, and it's all good, right? But no, I love that about live events. I think everybody does. It's just a fun way to get together, and so NMX is a great example of this. I mean, just in a couple of hours, you and I have had a chance to run into a lot of good friends, meet some new friends.
Than me. Yeah, thank you.
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
It's encouraging because a lot of people can relate to having friends on Facebook, but when you see those people in person, if you don't live there and see them often, it's just a cool thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So let's talk about, events in terms of podcasters. So podcasting, that's a big part of our world.
Right.
It's definitely it holds a really special place in my heart. We're hearing a bunch of crap in the background.
Yeah.
But for podcasters, why is it so important that podcasters attend events, specifically podcasters?
I think it's important to consider attending events in your niche because number one, it's just educational. You're not alone, number one, and then you get to hear about other ideas and other people are trying things. Like just because something's working or not working for you hear about what worked for Tom and what worked for Stacy. And then you're thinking, hey, that's cool. I need to know about that because that's something I can consider implementing in my show. Right. So regardless of what kind of space you're in, what kind of niche you're in, you should consider going to shows because it just helps you to be a little bit smarter.
Right.
For example, you gave a really great talk at Podcast San Diego. There was plenty of people that started saying, hey, how can I create a video with my podcast? Or I was doing video anyway. Maybe I could turn that into a podcast. It's like they started to think that way because they heard you talk about that.
That's true. It's crazy how activating an event can become, and Kevin is a testament to this. He was so I don't want to mess with that. That looks too weird. That's not my world. But then he goes to the event and he meets you, or he meets Omar and Nicole, or Pat Flynn, and he gets so hyped up. And that's the power of events. And it's like, holy crap! If somebody like Kevin, somebody who's pretty much closed-minded to that fact, now his mind is blown wide open to the possibilities of what can happen for him and what can happen for us. And then now he gets to meet such awesome people like you. And also too, I find it really crazy cool that the podcasting community is so helpful. So actually really genuine compared to the wedding photography industry that I'm from. It was oh, you're in competition with us, or what are you doing over there? Everybody's so different and so themselves.
I heard Kevin say that on Get in the Lab, and I completely agreed with him. It's podcasting, for the most part, and there's a few exceptions, unfortunately, but people have that abundance mindset. Hey, there's plenty of pie. There's pie for you, there's pie for me.
I
We
love
all
that.
eat pie.
I love that.
So it's okay for me to help you.
Yes.
And I love that quote by John F. Kennedy. It says, the rising tide lifts all the boats. Right? Yes. So consider how you can be giving to others, not looking at them as competition, and then the community really comes together and rises up because of that. So podcasting is one of those places. hopefully more and more niches start to understand that and embrace that.
Right, exactly. And Jared, you have become such a rising tide for us for getting the lab, and like for Kevin to see that how genuine of a person you are and that you come from the podcasting world. It's such a door opener. It's such an eye opener. So I really have to thank you for him and because it really helped us in our business and in our relationship too. I
love the videos that you do, and I remember the first time I saw it, and I saw like the intro video, that smooth intro video. I was like, that's awesome! Like, that's epic! And so I love what you guys do, and then you turn that into audio too. Like, I think there's so many people who can learn from you. I think, truthfully, Megan, and you and I talked about this, I think you should be teaching workshops that help people with their video skills, because you seem to have that down.
Hey, well, that's what we are.
Is this an announcement? What is this? Seriously.
It's part of the unofficial announcement that have been trolling out ever so often, but we'll get into that. The Lab Rats know about that, but what I want to talk about and bring to their attention is podcast movement, which is happening later on. So tell us about that.
So last year, we wanted to put together an event based on attending NMX last year. We had heard people say, why is there no podcast conference? And we thought the same thing, Megan.
Yeah.
Why does it not exist? And there wasn't a good answer for it. We knew people wanted it. But it's one thing to think that there's a good idea, and then another thing to act on it and put time and resources into it. So we realized we didn't have experience in creating events. We didn't have a ton of finances and resources to invest in something that might fail. We needed to get advice, and we needed to validate. So we got advice. We went to different people that run big events, and we said, hey, would you be willing to share with us some of your experience? If you're starting over today, what would you do? Oh, I would do A, B, and C. Well, that's valuable to me if I'm about to start an event. And then we also did a validation where we did Kickstarter. Like, Kickstarter is a beautiful thing. Crowdfunding is beautiful because maybe I don't want to invest a ton of resources or money into something that I don't know if it's going to work. But I can create a crowdfunding campaign and encourage the community to say, hey, please consider supporting this. And if they do support it, then you have your validation. Hey, this is the money now that I can use to create.
Smart, so smart.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's where some people make mistakes. They're just, I've got this idea, I'm going to go and roll it out.
Yeah.
There's better strategies than just going and rolling out. You want to validate and test it. Noah Kagan, AppSumo, he really preaches that, and I think there's a lot of wisdom in that.
Yeah.
That's called marketing before you manufacture. Think about getting on the airplane, Megan. You bought a ticket before you got on the plane, and they sold you a ticket on a flight you had not taken yet.
Right.
Everybody does marketing before you manufacture. It's just a smart way to do it. So.
Oh, that is so smart, man. I got to bring that back to Kevin.
Yeah, sell it before you do it, because then there's the proof of concept. Now you have to have integrity that you're going to deliver whatever you're selling, and you would.
Yes.
But podcast movement started out that way. Could we do? I like the question: could you do it? Should you do it? Right? You got to ask that. Could you? And then should you?
Yeah.
And with the good advice and the validation of Kickstarter, we realized real quickly that
it's okay.
We realized real quickly that we had something that people wanted to support. I love it, man.
Sorry.
We had like 10 people walk through our video. Hey, man, we love folks.
I should have brought out the big camera.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like.
Yeah. I just stick my leg out.
So I lost my train of thought. I don't know what we're talking about. We realized that people wanted it, so we put it on last year. We were thinking it'd be nice to have 100 podcasters. And then it grew. It was like, it'd be nice to have 200.
And you blew it away, man.
Last year we had 600 podcasters come to a first-time event. Dude. It was like, what?
That's
why?
Awesome.
No, not why. we were thrilled. So we're doing it again.
Humble.
We're going to do it again. Yeah, and it's going to be this summer, July 31st through August 2nd. It's going to be in Fort Worth, Texas.
Starts in July. Okay.
Yeah, and if podcasting's on your radar, or you have a podcast and you want to grow in that, and you want to connect with other podcasters, this has basically become the industry event for the podcast.
Hells yeah, man.
Yep.
And thank you for doing that. Thank you for spearheading that. We needed that as a community, and I'm really honored and blessed to be a part of it. So.
Dude, you are a part of it. You're a big part of it. So.
Thank you so much. So
if you get to hear Megan speak in person, you got to do it. Rocking the stage.
Hella nervous.
I got pictures on Facebook that prove that.
All right. So where can people find you and find out more information?
All right. So the event that we were just talking about is podcastmovement.com. Definitely check that out. And then I have a podcast. It's not as good as Get in the Lab, but if you run out of episodes of Get in the Lab and you need one more podcast to try out, there's a show called Starve, like you're hungry, Starve the Doubts. And there's an episode, I'm going to tell them this. You have been on Started
Yes,
Out as a guest
I have.
co-host,
I'm
and hopefully
proud,
coming
man.
back as a guest. But you did a guest co-host with me a while back. We interviewed Jenny Blake.
So fun, man.
So friends of Get in the Lab, if you want to check out Started the Doubts, that's probably a good episode to go back in the archives.
Awesome.
Look for the interview with Jenny Blake, and you'll hear Megan Pangan on that episode. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So thank you.
My
Thank you,
pleasure.
Jared, for being
Yeah.
here. I appreciate it. Lab Rats, thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us. Once again, my name is Megan.
And I'm Jared, and
Reminding you,
Let's get in the lab.
reminding you
Just like you.
to get in the lab. Peace out. Thanks, guys.